When you put your characters in the desert with a lot of sun and a lot of sand and only one direction to go, you've basically written yourself into a corner. Everybody's got to go through this desolate place where nothing really happens, and it has to take time. It has to take a significant amount of screen time because it has to look tough. You could condense time and have them cross the desert in just a couple of scenes, but then it just comes across as easy, and that's not what you want. So in the third episode of the Mosquito Coast, titled Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, we spend an hour with the Fox family and Chewie. The actors, especially the teenage actors, look older than they did just one episode ago. I suspect, given the fact that the first two episodes were directed by Rupert Wyatt, that those episodes were actually a 2-hour pilot. So after a pilot is done, and after it gets picked up and scripts are written, actors generally, and surprisingly, have grown older. So this third episode is directed by Jeremy Podeswa, who's done a lot of TV work. He's directed lots of TV series like 6 Feet Under, The Tudors, Boardwalk Empire, and Game of Thrones. He does not have a lot to work with on the Mosquito Coast, though, since they're just walking through the desert. There's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of anything except beautiful desert shots. The Fox family does not encounter Saul Goodman, which could have easily happened. Saul Goodman spent a whole episode of Better Call Saul in the desert, but that episode had more weight. There was a physical and mental cost, and someone could catch them at any minute. Here, even though Ellie, Margot, the kids, and Chewie have a long way to go and don't look so fresh when they finally make it out of there, you never get the sense that they're actually in danger or that it takes a psychological toll on them. It just seems uncomfortable. So the story's pretty simple. They have to go from A to B, and at B, Chewie's going to make a call to his contacts. Now, what's the deal with Chewie? Why is he coming along? The foxes have to keep running, but what about Chewie? Why can't he go back? He can always claim that he was forced to take them to the border, that they threatened him. Perhaps that would be hard to believe. However, the cops are much more interested in Ellie Fox than in Chewie, so it may be possible to make a deal. You know, he does have a choice. Now, the best option probably still is to join the Foxes and get them over the border, but you need to address both options in the script. You need to address in dialogue what might happen if he decides to go back. This is actually what dialogue is for. Even if Chewie knows it's a bad idea to go back, he could still contemplate it, or pretend to contemplate it, to put some pressure on Ellie. This would create tension in the show. The way they wrote him now, it's like, well, okay, then I guess I'll just join you guys, you know. Chewie and the family start walking, and then it's just one obstacle after another. They cross a military area. They pass through a sort of sacred burial site where the bodies aren't exactly buried. They hide from coyotes who are going the other way, and then Chewie gets bit by a snake. The scene with the coyotes also lacks some explanation, because why do they decide to hide? The coyotes are probably dangerous, I get that. They have guns. They might want their money and water, but again, put a little line of dialogue in there. Have Ellie say something like, "We didn't steal all this money to lose it in the desert," or something like that. Then Chewie gets bit and isn't doing too great, but they reach the cell tower. He makes the call. They get picked up. Yeah, so it's obstacle after obstacle. It's almost like a video game, and they resolve every obstacle fairly easily. That's why it feels a lot like a bottle episode. An episode where nothing really happens, an episode that doesn't really matter. And that's fine. I don't have anything against bottle episodes, but this is episode 3. That's way too early in the season. You want the audience to embrace the show. That's not going to happen with episodes like this. One thing that does start to bug me is the question of, what did Ellie do? Why is he a fugitive? And there's no answer. The question is constantly asked, and it's even asked twice in this episode, and apparently the answer is just too damn complicated. Come on. Really? It's such a stupid thing to keep asking the same question over and over and over again and have characters give the same answer like, well, it's a long story, it's complicated, it's a misunderstanding. What the writers are doing, and maybe they don't even realize that they're doing this, but what they're doing is create a huge expectation. The explanation of what he did, or what the cops think he did, had better be good, had better be real good. The reason he's on the run could potentially be a huge letdown. Another thread that's still dangling is the dancing scene from episode 2. That has to come into play at some point, in some way. Chewie fell for Margot in that moment or something like that. That scene has to be paid off. If it's not, it was useless, and that is a writing crime. All in all, I did not hate this episode. I like the scenery, and I like it when characters walk through snowy landscapes and the desert as well. We got some beautiful visuals, but it was really lacking in substance.